Yay. Okay, this is my first thing to do in seriously a year, so I'm pumped. So thank you guys for coming out and hearing me talk. So my name is Maeb Smith, and I work for Remy-Cointreau, which is also Bruichladdich. So anything in the Remy-Cointreau portfolio falls under me, and today we're going to talk about Bruichladdich. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of background about Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich is an Islay Scotch whiskey, and Islay is about 200 miles off the coast of Scotland. Traditionally really known for heavily peated scotches, but something that's really unique about Bruichladdich is we do everything from an unpeated Scotch whiskey to the most heavily peated Scotch in the world. And I actually did bring the most heavily that we've released. So I've got a little sample of that. So if you're really into peat, then you're going to really dig it. But Bruichladdich is the smallest distillery on the island of Islay, yet we employ the most amount of local people. So everyone starts in our gift shop, and then they move up the ranks through the whole company. Like our master distiller, he started selling stuff in the gift shop, and now he's our master distiller, which is just a cool little thing. So what you have in your glasses today is the Islay Barley. That is not what I'm holding right now, but this is what people typically see whenever they see the Bruichladdich bottle. It's this color blue. Sorry, I don't have a sample of this because I ran out. The snowstorm really drained me. So the color blue is actually the color of the water in Islay on a really sunny day. So that's the story behind this guy. So this is an unpeated Islay Scotch whiskey. All of the barley in this guy is Scottish, but we're going to switch over to what you're actually having in your cups. So what you're going to take, yeah.
What does peated mean?
Peated is like a heavily smoky flavor. So like if you think of like a mezcal, how it has that smoke flavor, it's like a product of the earth. So peat is actually like condensed soil and roots and things that have died that are all just compacted down. And a lot of times in the peat process, what they do is they burn that peat, and that creates the smoky flavor. Yes?
Do they burn underground mezcal?
No, they have like burning chambers, and they're kind of creepy because a lot of them date back, hundreds and hundreds of years. And we went to Lefroy when we were there, and that peat smoke room freaked me the hell out. Like you just walked in, you're like, people have died in here. Like you can just feel it, So it is typically a room, and they burn that peat, and it just creates that smoky flavor. Yeah. So it's in a whole building. But what you guys have today is Islay Barley. So one thing that Bruichladdich is really known for is trying to create the most jobs on the island of Islay. They want to invest in Islay. They want people to stay in Islay rather than leave Islay and seek other opportunities elsewhere. So they create these jobs. So like they want to work with local farmers, and our water source is local, and everything from storing to our mash house and growing our barley, it's all local. So this is an Islay Barley, and I'll pass the bottle around, but you can see on here exactly which barley farm this is taken from. So if you guys want to taste it. So typically Scottish barley has a salty flavor, but what you'll really get with this guy, because it is an Islay Barley, it's really salty. And I like that because I like salt. Because the sea really beats down the barley, it just absorbs all that sea salt air, and that just really transfers into the Scotch. What do you guys think?
It's a really interesting note.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And absolutely. It's almost a little fruity. You definitely get that bright flavor, but you get that salt on the back end, which I really like. Yeah.
What's the ABV on it?
This guy, I believe, is 50. Yeah.
50%?
Yeah, this is a 50%.
For it being so hot,
Yeah.
really smooth.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that you'll find like with all of the Bruichladdich. They're a high ABV, but they drink smooth.
It's almost like a blend.
Yeah,
Blended Scotch.
for sure. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So I know that with bourbon there is already like there you can only distill it and then barrel it and then bottle it at a certain proof.
For it to be considered bourbon.
For Scotch?
So what's really interesting is for it to be an Islay Scotch, it only... So for it to be an Islay Scotch, technically it only has to be distilled on the island of Islay. So you could be getting barley from East Texas and distilling it in Islay and then, storing it in Kentucky, and it's an Islay Scotch whiskey. So Bruichladdich is really trying to go against that and make it truly an Islay whiskey. So what your question was is there parameters, right?
Yeah, like what are the parameters?
That's it. It has to be distilled on the island of Islay.
Okay.
So Bruichladdich is trying to really fight against that and just make everything tried and true on the island of Islay for it to be an Islay whiskey. And I think a lot of other Scotches are starting to recognize that and try to do things as local as possible as well.
The barrels are also from local.
They're American.
Okay.
American oak. And it's really cool when you walk through their warehouse. You see, Heaven Hill, and you see Brown Forman, and you see, all of our local friends, which is pretty neat. Yes.
What food would you think you could compare this to, or what part of the meal would you compare this with?
I like to pair it with anything seafood, just because, you do kind of get that salty flavor, and it is a Scotch, and it's, a little heavy, but it's also got that lightness to it. So, typically people will have Scotch before or after dinner, but all of our Scotches actually make really kick-ass cocktails too. And I'm a cocktail drinker, so that makes me happy.
What's your Scotch cocktail?
Blood and sand.
Hey, it's a good one.
Yeah. What if I was like, oh shit, I don't know. Yeah. Dark and stormy. So yeah, this guy's 2011. It's aged 6 years in all American oak casks. And yeah, that's the Islay Barley.
Nice. 4 years?
6.
Okay.
If you guys want to pass this around, more than welcome to. If you want to have a retry,